I'm Sherry. Welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited because in today's video we're going to be talking about tomatoes, which are actually my favorite thing to grow in the garden. I'm very excited, as you can tell. So let's get started. Now, tomatoes have two types of growing habits. They're indeterminates and determinates. The determinate varieties are sometimes called dwarf or bush varieties. And what these plants will do is they will grow up to a certain size and produce a certain amount of fruit. And then they're gonna stop producing and die. They will all ripen at the same time. So it's a good thing if you just want all your crops to be done all at once. I personally prefer indeterminate varieties. And an indeterminate variety will keep on growing and will keep on producing fruit as long as it has the adequate conditions. Now these are most of the tomato varieties that I'm growing this year. Or not even all of them. These are over 40 varieties that I'm growing this year because I'm a crazy tomato lady. I have no problem admitting that. Crazy for tomatoes. Now, seed packets tell you that tomato seeds can sprout in 7 to 14 days, but honestly, I've had tomato seeds sprout in as soon as 4 days. They have usually a really good germination rate, and they will keep that germination rate for a long time. I once saw a video by the MI gardener where he sprouted like 87-year-old seeds. They were tomatoes. When you're planting tomatoes, you want to make sure that your seeds are not too deep because that will be basically the only problem that you could have germinating your tomato seeds. Any kind of seed will use the energy from the seed to get up to the sun, but if the seed depletes that energy before it gets to the sun, it will die and rot. I usually germinate my seeds in small pots. I don't like to sow them in plugs because, well, it's just more time consuming. It's easier for me to just put the seed in here and wait for it to grow into a decent sized plant before I transplant it to its final pot. So I like to transplant my tomatoes when they've grown to be about 10 inches or so. And what I will do is I will snip off all the bottom growth and leave just the very top of the crown with a couple of leaves. And then I will plant it as deep as it'll go. Tomatoes have like little hairs all down the stem, and they will grow roots wherever that stem touches the soil. So if I plant this tomato to up to here, I will give it all of this space to grow a healthy root system. So I'm growing most of my tomatoes in containers, and I chose 5-gallon pots because according to my research, it has ample room to make a good root system and grow and produce as much as it should. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend growing your tomatoes on any container that is less than 5 gallons of capacity. Now about fertilizing. I like to fertilize my plants when I transplant them into their final container and once again when they start producing fruit. I would just recommend that you find something that's organic, and that will pretty much set you up for success and a great bountiful harvest. Now tomatoes have a very bushy growing habit. They will produce growth from a spot between the main stem and the branch, like right here. They will produce something called a sucker. So suckers are basically clones. If you let your suckers get to a certain size and prune them, you can actually stick them in a glass of water and they will start growing roots. And you can transplant that little cutting and it will turn into a whole new tomato plant. Now all the tomato plants that I'm growing this year are indeterminate varieties. Depending on your growing zone, you will have to find out what method works best for you. But generally, I would recommend that you try to single stem your tomatoes. With This means is that you will basically prune off or cut off all the suckers. They will make your tomato plant a lot bushier, and that is not necessarily a good thing because the plant will be focusing on making more plants instead of focusing on producing more tomatoes and ripening them. Tomato flowers actually have both female and male reproductive organs in each flower. So the way that they pollinate is that when a pollinator lands on the flower, with the vibration of its wings, it will drop the pollen into the female part of the flower, and that's how you basically get your tomatoes. Now, if you don't touch them at all, you will probably get 20% of your flowers to turn into tomatoes. But if you want to bump up that chance to an almost 100% flowers that turn into tomatoes, there's one simple trick that you need to know. This is an electric toothbrush, and this basically turns me into a bumblebee. So when the tomato flowers open, I will vibrate this on them, on the little bases of the flowers, and I will literally see how the pollen drops from the flowers. And I basically do that to all of my tomato flowers. And at least 99% of my flowers have turned into tomatoes using just a simple and easy to find and really, really cheap tool. I definitely recommend you try that. So that was it for today. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, consider subscribing. And it was great hanging out with you. I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Welcome back to my channel. Oh, for an indeterminate. I'm just getting confusing. I'm sorry. Now. That sprout, that means is that to care for a tomato, to grow, to care, to grow, to care, to bow. A certain amount of determinants. Depending on your growing zone, but I would generally recommend that you try 2 single stem. Now the best way that I've found is gonna start producing little suckers. Suckers. If you can see here, ooh. Tomatoes. Can you tell I'm excited about tomatoes? Because I love them so much. Okay, let's watch this video turn into, welcome, I'm a crazy tomato lady. Tomatoes. Tomatoes. Essential part in keeping your tomato. I'm just out of control today.